what is your prime takeaway on the AFC Championship game, Chris?
Here, I have written down, since you caught me taking notes on my yellow pad.
Well, you are a professional.
Kansas City's 10 to 15% better in the playoffs. I don't know. Some people knew that would happen. They had a better script. You could see it from the beginning of the game. They called better plays. They had a better game plan. Kansas City's defense outplayed Baltimore. They've outplayed their defense. They were the more disciplined team. You know, people can talk about those calls, but what calls do you think should have gone the other way? You know, like, really, you go look back at those calls, their players putting themselves in positions that they shouldn't be in. Don't leave it in the ref's hands. Don't taunt L'Jarius Sneed. If you're Van Noy, don't headbutt. You know, like, that's an automatic. I mean, like, you know, there's a bunch of penalties in this game that didn't go the Ravens' way, but a lot of them, they created those issues on their own. And then, you know, I think the better quarterback just won. Listen, I went through this with Josh Allen last week. I thought it was unfair for people to skewer Josh Allen with all the success he's had in the playoffs, 100 rating, 21 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. The guy is not often the reason they lose in the playoffs. And, you know, I think it's such a visceral reaction because I think we've treated Lamar poorly, you know, as the media and fans, and we've really gotten on him when he's lost these games. And so I think some people think Josh skates. But the point is, whether you're Josh or Lamar, you ain't Patrick. You know, there's only one Patrick Mahomes. He literally defines this era of football. If you were born in a certain part of history and you're a great quarterback, your life is different because Patrick Mahomes exists. And, you know, I think whether it's fair or unfair, you could tell how many Super Bowls would Lamar or Josh be in if they played in the NFC. It'd probably be more than 0. But the unfortunate circumstances, this guy, Patrick Mahomes, is ridiculous. And the conversions early in this game were amazing. The one to Kelsey on Stevens, you know, on that, I think it was the first drive on 4th and 2, which also told you both teams, the way they were going early in the game, were worried about the other team scoring. Especially, you know, Baltimore going backed up and that sort of thing. But it was the conversions, and the most fitting conversion of all was the 3rd and 9 at the end of the game where, you know, some people say run the ball. I think in that situation, the seconds aren't worth that much. You can end it right here, right? And, you know, they got the man indicator, the robber safety. He's kind of checking on Kelsey in the middle of the field at the sticks, and he sees the matchup with MVS that he likes. And if you remember back to the middle of the season when this thing really got snowballing for the Chiefs and people were like, they're not the same team, it was the MVS drop against Philly. And, you know, we've seen so many of these throughout the year, and people said it'll just persist through the playoffs. But I'd rather have that problem where you just got to catch the ball than the problems that a lot of these teams have. So, you know, and that played itself out. So MVS stepping up, Kelsey getting to a new level. Guy looked like a shell of himself for much of the season. 11 targets, 11 catches, and they weren't afraid to run the ball, where Baltimore was scared out of it.
Why? What? That's because it does seem that Spagnuolo didn't just get in the head of Lamar. He got in the head of Todd Monken, it seems, because just 6 running back runs. I mean, Zay Flowers had 1 fewer carry than Gus Edwards or Justice Hill. I mean, Lamar had 8 carries. Some of them were designed, others were scrambles. How does that happen? What did you see?
I don't think it was a thing where he just said, hey, based on our alignment or our box counts, you're not going to be able to run the ball. I thought it was, and I thought Spags got a lot out of reinforcements in general. I thought, you know, when you're down to Willie Gay, now Tranquil's had to play a lot of ball, but like somebody from that unit stepped up, and I thought Tranquil played really well. You know, that first play of the game, he sets a mean edge. They're stingy on 3rd and 1. I don't know why, because Baltimore, the second possession, I think once they got a conversion on 4th down, they line up and run power, and they gash them for 14 yards. You didn't see that again until the opening play of the second half. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I think just being scared off it, like just being spooked a little bit, coming out of the half and going, okay, we're going to reestablish the run game. And Justin Reed comes down, who played really well, and, you know, suplexes Gus Edwards. And, you know, the second play, it's a jet sweep, and McDuffie tackles. He's sure-handed. I think it's a terrible combination for Baltimore, and that's why some of us saw that this was going to happen, where it's like, okay, you have playmakers outside, but you got great tacklers on that Kansas City defense. You've got two guys outside that by the time Baltimore was trying to take shots against man coverage, they couldn't connect outside the numbers because that's not something they've done really well against great teams, but also the fact that you've got Snead and you've got those guys in coverage. And I think every time they got something going, whether it was, catching Snead, running with an over, and you've got Zay Flowers on that long reception where he taunts Snead, they screwed it up for themselves, whether it was the taunting or the forced fumble where, you're not protecting the ball at the goal line, or they start at the 1 yard line in the second half. They got this great drive and Lamar just chucks it into triple coverage. So they weren't as disciplined as Kansas City. If those teams played 10 times, Kansas City wins 7. I feel that strongly about who they are. And, it's not taking anything away from Baltimore. I just think we got a little out over our skis on that particular team because Spags can make a bad matchup out of almost anybody.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.